Chapter 15, Revelation Unfolded. Verse 1. And after these things I saw another sign in heaven, in the likeness of those things upon the earth. And great and marvelous were these things. And I beheld, as it were, 7 servants having power over the 7 last plagues, for in them is filled up the wrath of God. In Revelation chapter 1 verse 20, John introduces the 7 servants as a figurative expression of those throughout the world, 7 continents, who are righteous. After the introduction of technological and scientific advancements, great wonders used by mortals to aid in their pursuit of financial independence and material substance, those who have separated themselves from the world, 7 servants, by choosing to follow the tenets of the gospel of Christ, will not be affected, having power over by the worldwide 7 continents consequences, plagues of the unquenchable thirst for money and materialism. The example of a servant intended by John can be given as one who has power over the cravings. To name a few, for example, to eat too much, shop too much, and worry too much. Those who understand and practice the easy burden and yoke of Christ's gospel will be at peace and understand the purpose for the trials and tribulation in the world. Those who do not will experience the result of the wrath of God, which has previously been described as the non-intervention of heavenly guidance. See commentary on Revelation chapter 6 verse 17. Verse 2. And I saw as it were a sea of glass mingled with fire, and upon it stood those 7 servants who had gotten the victory over the beast, and over his image, and over his mark, and over the number of his name. And as they played their harps, they sang the song of God. John uses the figurative expression sea of glass to describe the ability of having an eternal perspective of all things. See the commentary of Revelation chapter 4 verse 6. Having an eternal perspective mingled with knowledge of real truth, fire, gives a person victory over the cares and worries of the world. Those thus victorious have no desire to live the American dream and isolate themselves from others by surrounding themselves with a white picket fence that encloses their self-contained family. These have won the battle with their human nature by slaying the dragon beast inside, and have no desire to earn more than another number, own more than another mark, or be more than another image. They live, sing, the gospel of doing unto others, forgiveness, and loving their enemies, the song of God, which creates the peaceful and soothing music as does a harp. Verse 3. And they sing the song of Moses, the servant of God, which is the song of the Lamb, saying, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. The following verses are from one of the last books included in the Old Testament. The text has been translated properly. The bold indicates the difference from the King James Bible. But unto you that fear my name shall the Son of Righteousness arise, with healing in his wings. And the windows of heaven shall be opened up, so that this light can shine upon you, and warm you, and give you comfort. And ye shall go forth, and grow up as calves of the stall, which are fed by the hand of the Lord. And he shall lead you forth from the stalls among the wicked, and ye shall tread upon them, even as grown cattle walk upon the remnants of a burnt field. For they shall be ashes under the soles of your feet in the day that I shall do this, saith the Lord of hosts. And now I would that ye should remember the law of Moses my servant, which I commanded unto him in Horeb for all Israel, with the statutes and judgments that I gave unto your fathers, that they might look forward to the day of the Lord. And ye are their children, therefore the law that I have given them, even so shall ye do. But in the last days the hearts of the children shall be turned away from the law, and the statutes and judgments of their fathers, and their fathers shall mourn for them. For I have promised their fathers, and have made my covenant with them, but their children do not know them. Behold, I will send you Elijah the prophet before the coming of the great and dreadful day of the Lord. And he shall plant in the hearts of the children the promises made to their fathers, lest I come and smite the earth with a curse, and the whole earth be utterly wasted at his coming. Malachi chapter 4, verse 2 to 6. The true law of Moses had nothing to do with what the Old Testament presents in the esoteric and ritualistic ordinances described therein. These priestly ministrations were the lower law given to the Israelites after they had rejected the higher. The symbolism and metaphoric statutes and judgments of the law of Moses, as given in the Old Testament, point to the gospel of Jesus Christ. When Christ lived upon earth in mortality, he fulfilled this law and gave a new law. And he said unto them, These are the words which I spake unto you, while I was yet with you, that all things must be fulfilled, which were written in the law of Moses, and in the prophets, and in the Psalms, concerning me. Luke chapter 24, verse 44. Therefore, all things whatsoever ye would that men should do to you, do ye even so to them. For this is the law and the prophets. Matthew chapter 7, verse 12. Just before he taught the people not to get angry with each other, not to lust after each other, not to sue each other, and not to judge each other, but instead to forgive each other and love their enemies, Christ said, Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets. I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill. For verily I say unto you, till heaven and earth pass, one jot or one tittle shall in no wise pass from the law, till all be fulfilled. Whosoever therefore shall break one of these least commandments, and shall teach men so, he shall be called the least in the kingdom of heaven. But whosoever shall do and teach them, the same shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. For I say unto you, that except your righteousness shall exceed the righteousness of the scribes and Pharisees, ye shall in no case enter into the kingdom of heaven. Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 to 20. When one sings the song of Moses and does the things that Christ taught, Song of the Lamb, it is easy to exclaim, Great and marvelous are thy works, Lord God Almighty. Just and true are thy ways, thou King of saints. This is because treating others as one wants to be treated really works by creating peace and happiness. With this understanding, one has power over the consequences of depression, confusion, and fear, the things that plague us with unhappiness. Verse 4. For we shall not fear thee, O Lord, and shall glorify thy name with our song. For thou art holy, and all nations shall come and worship before thee. For thy judgments are made manifest unto us. How is God to be feared? The translators of New Testament writings, who had been taught to fear God, misinterpreted John's original writings to read the way they believed. Those who sing the song of God will do the works commanded of him. Glorify thy name with our song, and let their light shine before men, that they may see good works by which God is glorified. refer to Matthew chapter 5, verse 14 to 16. Those who fear God preach hell, fire, and damnation upon those who do not. They send out missionaries without the love of the true God, but are convinced they demonstrate their love toward their neighbor by warning them. Yet, in all the scriptures, which they claim to be the word of God, where can one verse be found wherein Christ condemns the sinner and preaches hell, fire, and damnation, except to those who piously fear God? Preachers, ministers, evangelists, and modern-day holy ones preach of a God they neither know nor understand. They cannot carry the tune of the song that those who are redeemed of the world and who have an eternal perspective of all things sing in perfect harmony. The sea of glass mingled with fire upon which these elect stand allows them to spread love, tolerance, forgiveness, and hope instead of vain imaginations of hell, fire, and damnation. When the truth is finally revealed and the world is taught this eternal perspective, all nations of the earth will come to understand the judgment and wisdom of the eternal plan of the Creator. These are the judgments made manifest to those who so choose to accept them. Well did the psalmist sing his song. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey, and the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is thy servant warned, and in keeping of them there is great reward. Psalms chapter 19, verse 7 to 11. Verse 5. And after I had beheld these things, I looked, and behold, inside the temple in heaven, the tabernacle of the testimony was opened. By writing, the tabernacle of the testimony was opened, John is figuratively presenting the same thing that he did in Revelation chapter 14, verse 6 to 7. The everlasting gospel being preached and available to the world. John was taught by Jesus that the stories and traditions of the Jews had no relevance to a person's righteousness. The ordinances and rituals were allowed to be practiced by the Jews as symbolic pointers to teach them how to get along with each other and to give them busy work to keep their minds centered on spiritual matters instead of worldly pursuits, worshipping the golden calf. According to Jewish legend and tradition, the Israelites refused to go up to the mount to speak with God, but sent Moses to do it for them. This was the first indication that mortals did not want to receive the simple truths of the mysteries of God, but would rather listen to another mortal tell them what they needed to know and do. Because they refused the plainness and simplicity of the higher law, which is the law Jesus taught, Moses went up on the mount and received a law of ordinances and rituals that were so embedded with esoteric meaning and filler that the Jews had no idea of their intent. This truth is contrary to the precepts of Orthodox Bible believers, who want to accept that the Ten Commandments was the only thing written upon the stone tablets Moses brought down from the mount. This foolishness couldn't be further from the truth. Here are some biblical excerpts to illustrate what really happened. And Moses brought forth the people out of the camp to meet with God. and they stood at the nether part of the mount. Exodus chapter 19, verse 17. The Israelites were frightened and would not approach God. In comparison, because of the fear of God taught by the religious leaders of the world today, why would anyone believe God is approachable? But the opportunity to know him and hear his voice has always been an option for those who have eyes that can see him for who he really is, and ears that can hear his true voice. And the Lord said unto Moses, Come up to me into the mount, and be there, and I will give thee tables of stone, and a law, and commandments which I have written, that thou mayest teach them. Exodus chapter 24, verse 12. Various instructions and precise details, which are also a part of the law of Moses, are detailed in Exodus chapter 24, verse 13 to chapter 31, verse 17, a large amount. These busy laws of building a tabernacle, an altar, and an ark, and adorning them, along with all the works to be done with each, were given after the people had rejected the simple laws Moses had taught them. If they had not been written down on the tablets, how did Moses remember them in such detail? And he gave unto Moses, when he had made an end of communing with him upon Mount Sinai, 2 tables of testimony, tables of stone, written with the finger of God. Exodus chapter 31, verse 18. And Moses turned and went down from the mount, and the 2 tables of the testimony were in his hand. The tables were written on both their sides, on the one side and on the other were they written. And the tables were the work of God, and the writing was the writing of God, graven upon the tables. Exodus chapter 32, verse 15 to 16. The people still demonstrated their natural behavior and desire to worship someone or something they could see with their mortal eyes by building a golden idol and worshipping it. Moses threw down the stones and broke them, but was later commanded to hew 2 more stones so that this busy work would always be carried wherever the Israelites went. And the Lord said unto Moses, Hew thee 2 tables of stone like unto the first, and I will write upon these tables the words that were in the first tables, which thou breakest. Exodus chapter 34, verse 1. The Israelites made a tabernacle, a portable temple, that had the Ark of the Testimony. Covenant is used interchangeably within it, which contained the busy work parts of the law of Moses. The ark was always veiled and enclosed so that the people could not see it. Only those ordained with proper authority could touch it or look upon it and read those things Moses heard with his own ears. In other words, as John says throughout his revelation, if any man have an ear, let him hear. The Israelites had ears, but they did not want to meet God and hear him. In this verse of Revelation, John is figuratively saying that the temple is now open for all to see, understand, the tabernacle of testimony. In other words, those who do not fear God and want to approach him and hear the testimony from his own mouth can do so without having it shielded from their view by a veil, or by having it revealed to them through another mortal, prophet. Verse 6. And the 7 servants came out of the temple, having power over the 7 plagues, clothed in pure and white linen, and having their breasts girded with golden girdles. According to the law of Moses, in order for the priests to officiate in their office within the tabernacle, behind the veil, and around the Ark of the Covenant, they were instructed to dress in special clothing specifically sewn for the sacred purpose. And thou shalt embroider the coat of fine linen, and thou shalt make the mitre of fine linen, and thou shalt make the girdle of needlework. And for Aaron's sons thou shalt make coats, and thou shalt make for them girdles, and bonnets shalt thou make for them, for glory and for beauty. And they shall be upon Aaron and upon his sons, when they come in unto the tabernacle of the congregation, or when they come near unto the altar to minister in the holy place, that they bear not iniquity and die. It shall be a statute forever unto him and his seed after him. Exodus chapter 28, verse 39 to 40, 43. In this verse, John presents those who are coming out of the temple and can now look upon the tabernacle of the testimony and recognize it for what it really is. These have a whole new perspective on life, which gives them power over the 7 plagues. They are clothed with righteousness, pure and white linen, having their breasts girded, with a proper understanding of truth, which encases the adulations of joy and peace emanating from their breasts. See also the reference to the golden girdle of Christ, described in Revelation chapter 1, verse 13. Verse 7. And one of the 4 beasts gave unto the 7 servants 7 golden vials full of the wrath of God, who liveth for ever and ever. To properly understand what these golden vials contain, John makes a metaphoric parallel between the 7 servants presented here, having the vials, and the 7 angels he presented in chapter 8, having the trumpets, as mentioned in the commentary on chapter 8. John expresses this period of silence in his revelation as the time in which warnings are given of what will happen to the human race if it continues to disregard the commandments of God. Trumpets are symbolically given as announcements or warnings, and each of the 7 angels has 1 trumpet that sounds a warning pertaining to a specific effect caused by wickedness. These warnings pertain to things that are spiritual, or those things which turn our hearts away from peace, harmony, and the love we should have one for another. Later, in chapter 16, the servants have vials in their hands, which they are commanded to pour out upon the earth. Each vial represents the actual spiritual and physical effects of humankind's wickedness, and corresponds to the spiritual warnings given by each of the angels with the trumpets that sound when humans act contrary to the royal law of God. The pouring out of the vials spoken of later in John's revelation caused much tribulation to come upon the earth after humankind has been warned by the trumpeting angels and has ignored the warnings. When John first mentioned vials, he set up another metaphoric parallel in which he compares the 24 elders, prophets of God, to all those who have heeded their warnings and followed their counsel, 7 servants righteous of the world. And when he had taken the book, the 4 beasts rejoiced, and the 24 elders fell down before the Lamb, having every one of them harps, and golden vials full of the smoke of incense, which are the prayers of saints. Revelation chapter 5, verse 8. The 7 angels, whose trumpets sounded in heaven and warned us of the impending plagues, were presented as doing so in heaven, whereas the 7 servants will be commanded to go your ways and pour out the vials of the wrath of God upon the earth. Since the wrath of God is non-intervention in the actions of humankind, given so that we can experience consequences and learn from them, it makes sense that those with an eternal perspective, 7 servants, would go their way upon the earth and pour out what they have been given upon the rest of the people. They give the world nothing, and do nothing to aid it, as it suffers the consequences of disregarding the trumpets of warning heard in heaven. This parallels Jesus Christ's thoughts in the parable of the 10 virgins. And the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell, and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open to us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. Watch therefore, for ye know neither the day nor the hour wherein the Son of Man cometh. Matthew chapter 25, verse 8 to 13. John gives a clue to his meaning when, as the 7 servants are pouring out their vials upon the earth, he mentions in Revelation chapter 16, verse 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth, and keepeth his garments upon him, lest he walk naked, and they see his own shame. No matter how much knowledge those who have overcome the world gain from the truth and the eternal perspective they possess, all of their explanations, understandings, wisdom, and pure knowledge of truth will be disregarded or unaccepted by those who haven't gotten victory over the beast and do not stand on a sea of glass mingled with fire. This clear understanding will be as a vial filled with the wrath of God poured out upon the others who have no such understanding. The mere fact that these 7 servants understand the mysteries of God and the rest of the world does not, though all have been given the same opportunity, justifies the consequences of the plagues from which they suffer. It is important to keep in mind that John presents these servants as having the exact same vial filled with the exact same thing, the wrath of God. He does not say that each of them has a different plague in his vial. Verse 8, And the temple was filled with smoke, and all were blinded from the glory of God, and from his power. And no man was able to enter into the temple, because of the smoke, till the 7 plagues of the 7 servants were fulfilled. This verse parallels the period of silence for the space of about a half an hour, presented in Revelation chapter 8, verse 1. A pure knowledge of God, his power, and his mysteries will not be known. No man was able to enter into the temple until the inhabitants of the earth suffered the consequences, 7 plagues, of not following his plan and mandates. When smoke is present, none can see what it hides. But one day the smoke will clear, and all will have a perfect knowledge of those alien beings who live on another planet in another solar system or galaxy, and with whose advanced technology and understanding we have been given the opportunity of life and the ability to experience happiness. End of chapter 15.